So hello and welcome in today's webcast, where we will be showing the rail connection functionality in the CGS plus Ferrovia software solution for railway design and maintenance. First of all, I'd like to welcome all of you. In this presentation, it's going live and we'll see some details of the rail connection functionality which we have. My name is Leon Leban, and currently I'm Senior Technical Sales Specialist and also dedicated for rail technology. So I'll drive you through this presentation today. Before we start, I'd like to emphasize that Ferrovia supports various CAD platforms, from Autodesk platforms like AutoCAD, AutoCAD Civil 3D, and AutoCAD Map 3D, supporting all the current versions and down to 2011, but also supporting BricsCAD from version 16 down to version 14. And at this stage, we have a short and a small poll, which I'm just launching now, and I would invite you just to click on the available options, just to indicate which platforms do you currently use. And I'll also share this later on, but I'll also show you the speed testing, the speed performance of various CAD platforms. So when using Ferrovia on AutoCAD, base AutoCAD, or using Ferrovia on Civil 3D, or using Ferrovia on BricsCAD, what's the speed performance? Okay, so we're getting in some applause, some clicks. Okay, nice. So I think it was enough time. Let's close this poll, and let me share with you the results. So those are the results. 85% of you are using AutoCAD Civil 3D, almost more than 20% AutoCAD or AutoCAD Map 3D, and 8% BricsCAD. Okay, thank you. So let's continue then with our presentation. What's important here is, as I mentioned, first is the speed performance. And in the first example, we tested the write and read test performance for entities or database. So we had 1 million entities in the drawing, and we needed to write it to the DVG or read it from the DVG. And as you can see here, AutoCAD Civil 3D is the slowest platform by some margin. And the fastest two are the AutoCAD and BricsCAD. And here is notably to say that basically if you are using AutoCAD Civil 3D, in this installation you also get the AutoCAD. There's a separate icon for AutoCAD, for the plain icon. And if you install, let's say, Ferrovia on top of that profile, on top of AutoCAD plain profile, you will get much better results in terms of speed. So Civil, as it operates with so many objects, it just affects the sheer speed performance. And the second example was dealing with the digital terrain modeling. So there was 1 million points that we were using, and at first we were creating the digital terrain modeling on top of Civil 3D, where it used quite a lot of time, and on the other hand, on plain AutoCAD and on BricsCAD, the results were much faster, so much better. So that's just an interesting view on the sheer speed performance of using different platforms. Okay. So next topic here is Ferrovia is available in different packages, and also here we are doing some changes, and you will see here. First, what I'd like to emphasize is that rail connections, as we have three different packages of Ferrovia, so the standard, professional 3D, and ultimate 4D. So the rail connection functionality comes in the upper two packages, so in the Ferrovia Professional 3D and in Ferrovia Ultimate 4D. What is maybe important here to also mention is the small changes in Ultimate 4D package, where we are including the Platea standard, so the road design tools together with the Ferrovia. So somebody interested in using both functionalities, so road design and railway design, it gets everything together in the Ferrovia Ultimate 4D package. Okay, so at this stage we have another poll where we are basically asking you how many times or in how many projects do you have such examples when you deal with the rail design and road design. So you have maybe road alongside the rail track, or maybe you have some intersections between rail and road, and yeah, okay, it was expected that the number is quite high. Okay, so the poll is going on, so interesting results already. So I'll just wait a second or two so that everybody can vote, and then we'll share this. So basically, let's say for all of you that you do roadway and railway design, let's say together, sometimes, frequently, or always, then the Ferrovia Ultimate 4D package will answer to all your requirements, basically. So also the the level intersections are supported there nicely. Few things more, like showing road and rail in same cross-section views, etc. Okay, so thanks for voting. I'm just closing it, and I'd like to share it with you. So basically, as you can see, it's basically in 90% of users basically use both functionalities, so the road and railway design. Less than 10% never do the road design alongside railway design. Okay? Okay, so thank you. And let's continue now. So let's go into our presentation. Today we are concentrating mainly on this rail connection feature. So the advanced rail connection design and editing in Ferrovia. And first, there are number of commands, number of possibilities in the layout ribbon, which enables you to draw turnouts, to draw rail connection, enable you to edit turnouts and rail connections or delete them, create turnout reports, make turnout, so see the turnout types in catalog and create your own turnout types if there are let's say the specific turnout geometry that you require is not there, although there are mainly pre-listed already all those who are, let's say, the most commonly used. Okay. Speaking about rail connections, so we will show you an example how in Ferrovia you can easily make rail connections between the first and the second rail track, forming with two turnouts and a small part of alignment which is connecting these two turnouts. Okay, so this is just, let's say, the basics. Before we go there, we should look at the at the basic element which forms the rail connection, and that is the turnout. And turnout, on its own, it has a lot of parameters. You can see in the dialog box on the right side, so from the turnout type, which you can select the insertion point definition where you put it, then you have the turnout axis name, so the branched alignment which is going from the main alignment, then the station, the placing of the turnout, so the stationing of the turnout, Then it has a lot of parameters like descriptions, labels. Then the turnout can be placed to the left or to the right side, forward direction, backward direction. There's a turnout side direction, so that one with the number 17 up there with the turnout index, which is another parameter, and that sign can be basically that its direction can be forward, backward, left and right. And there is the bending method, so it can be the Swiss or the German bending method, and then there's another one, the clearance point, just indicates at which point the two rail tracks will have, let's say, that offset, so the 3.5 meters. So there's a bunch of parameters in one turnout already. And when we move to the rail connection, which is formed between two alignments in order to enable trains and rail machinery to switch tracks, so that rail connection consists now of two turnouts and a connection alignment in between. So there's a number of even more parameters that need to be available for users. And basically to make that comfortable, so we shrinked that into one dialog box, but still enabling users to get all that additional settings for composing labels, setting all the switch types, creating the rail connection alignment name, selecting all the alignments which we need to connect, and the connection time, so connection type, so which we will see later on. So basically, it's all in one user interface, and you will see later that just by clicking this whole geometry of the rail connection, so the two turnouts, the small part of alignment connection in between them is made automatically. Okay? But before we go there, we just need to, let's say, to review the rail connection types that Ferrovia supports. So first is the rail connection between parallel rail tracks using same turnout types. So meaning that both turnouts have the radius of the same value. In this case, let's say the 300 meters radius. And this is the, let's say, the most trivial rail connection that you can create between parallel rail tracks, because let's say that connection is just at a tangent, just an easy one. So that's a very trivial. That's the first one that Ferrovia supports. The second possibility is again on parallel rail tracks, but using different turnout types. In this case, so using different radio values on each of the turnouts. This makes basically an angle between those turnouts. So there cannot be just a straight tangent to connect them, but needs to be fitted with some radius in between. And there are two types of how that alignment connection between those two turnouts can be made. And that's also supported with Ferrovia. So let's look more in details. So there is, let's say, call it type A. So basically the possibility is that the user makes that alignment connection between the two turnouts of different radio values, so the different turnout types. That connection is made by tangent, curve, and tangent elements. And user has all the possibilities, so you can see here in the user interface on the right. So it has the possibility to manage all those values. So what's the distance of, so the length of the first tangent, what's the radius, and what's the length of the second tangent. In the type B below, basically there's that possibility is just made automatically, so just switching onto the shortest possible, and user doesn't have then the possibility to alter those parameters, because that, let's say, higher radius from the two turnouts that are available. So in this case, the 500 radius is just extended from the turnout into this connection part until it's tangential to the second turnout. And that's also made all automatic. Just those two possibilities are available for users to alter or to edit, and we'll see this also later live. Okay? So next possibility is, and this is a little bit more difficult one if you want to do it manually. So between non-parallel rail tracks, using same or different turnout types. So there are, let's say, those possibilities. Doing this manually, it takes a lot of time, a lot of iteration to place the second turnout. So Ferrovia just calculates all those positioning and just fits in all the parameters accordingly. What's also important here is that in this case, the automatic possibility is always short as possible, so that the radius is extended from the, let's say, from the turnout with the highest radius and to the part which is tangential to the other turnout. Then we get, let's say, two more interesting examples. When we have parallel rail tracks in curve and we want to place a rail connection there. So again, when we place the turnout in curve, it needs to be basically transformed, recalculated based on the radius of the main alignment, then based on the value of the branched alignment, so the radius of the branched alignment, that needs to be transformed, and then the second turnout needs to be transformed accordingly. And also the part in between, it's formed by a radius of a special value that needs to be according to those all parameters that were used for the both turnouts. And all of that, again, is made automatically in Ferrovia. Okay? But let's go to even more. Just one thing, yes. So basically, what is important here is that when all those parameters for turnouts are created, user also enters in the rail connection axis name. So let's say this example, rail con track. And this is formed now the alignment from the beginning of the first turnout to the beginning of the second one. So the entire length of this rail connection now is one alignment. And that alignment is also now shown in our X manager. So basically later on, user can then project this alignment, create a profile for this alignment, and make all the profile changes and adjustments there to make all the vertical, let's say, design as it needs to be to fit all those rail connections as they need to be. Okay, so this example now shows the rail connection between non-parallel curve, and there's another bonus. So as supporting all those possibilities, so non-parallel alignments in the tangent, non-parallel alignments in curve. So we are also able to create rail connections between a rail track in tangent and in curve section, so of the second alignment. So also that possibility is now supported with the use of CGS Ferrovia rail connection feature that's available. Okay. Just a short review of the rail connection types supported. So we have on parallel alignments using same turnout types or different turnout types. So we can put it on the parallel alignments in curve, but also on non-parallel alignments and non-parallel alignments in curve. Okay. So now I'll just switch to my AutoCAD, sorry. So here we are now in our Ferrovia menu on the Report tab, and here you can see that here are all the commands as shown before, and there is one specific command, draw rail connections. In drawing, what we have is, so basically I'll just show you, we have just a simple example here. We have two alignments here, and those two alignments in one part are parallel. This curve also is parallel, but then as we continue, these two curves here now are non-parallel, and at the end of these alignments, those are also non-parallel. So we'll see how this rail connection feature behaves in different conditions here. We have already created one rail connection here to see it. We'll just make another one. So starting rail connection command, what we do is basically we select from which alignment we would like to start, what will be our, let's say, the second, the alignment which we would like to connect to. Then, okay, we define forward, backward direction. We will come back to the stationing by placing. And what is important here is the alignment name, which will be formed so for this rail connection. So let's say that this is rail connection example. Okay? And that alignment should then appear in this axis list as it is created. What we have the possibility here is to select the type of the first turnout. So we can use various geometries of that one. We have other parameters here which won't touch at this point, but we can also set those. And in the first example, let's make a rail connection between the two turnouts of the same type. So both turnouts have the 500 branched alignment radius. And that connection type, let's say here, will be, at this point, it's even not important. But let's place it now with this button, just defining the station. So we are just, let's say, yes, you will see here. So we are then coming in the curve, so it goes automatic somewhere else. So basically, as we are in the tangent section, so basically we can then define it specifically to this location. We can define whether it's forward or backward. And you can see here that there's not enough room to put it backward, so we get a red line. But in the forward direction, there's enough room. So we click. We have all of those. We can set it even more in details, let's say afterward, the stationing. And then we can just click OK. And the rail connection now is created, forming with the two turnout types of the same, so basically with the same type, and there's just a tangent part in between. Okay? But now we want to edit this, so we will just select one turnout. Again, this user interface comes up, and what we'll do is we will just change basically the type of the second turnout in this example. We'll click OK, and you can see here now that the geometry has also of the connection element, has changed. So basically the extended, so the radius from this turnout, the beginning turnout, has been extended until the point which is then tangential to the second turnout. And this is automatically created. So Ferrovia calculates all the needed parameters and creates this geometry. There is a second possibility here that user again can, let's see here, can change this automatic calculation to a, let's say, more regular possibility where user can then specify, let's say, well, I'd like to have 6 meters of tangential section from the first turnout. And then as I click in the next to here checkbox, the radius has been automatically recalculated. So let's say I want to have a 6 meter tangent also on the part of the second turnout. Again, just clicking here, you see that the radius is again recalculated automatically. User has also the possibility to change the radius. Let's say that he wants to put here 300 of radius, and then the last parameter is recalculated automatically. So it differs which parameters user wants to change, and then hitting OK, you can see here now that we have this first tangential section of 6 meters, there is the radius of 300 meters, and there's the second part of tangent section connecting the second turn. Okay, so we are here, we covered here, let's say, all the possibilities for the placing of rail connection on parallel alignments in tangent section. But let's see what are the possibilities, or where can we place those turnouts as well, or rail connections, when the alignments are not in tangent section. So we would like first, let's see if we can place it into the curve. First thing is, as I scroll, you see that sometimes you would say, yeah, maybe that's an error. Of course, the problem is that rail connection is not supported in the areas where there is spiral section. So basically, you need to go from the tangent to the curve section in order to be able to then see the proper rail connection geometry. So the spiral sections are not supported. As Ferrovia also doesn't have the spiral, so the turnouts to be placed on spirals. So also rail connection is not enabled to be made between tangent or curve section of first alignment and the spiral section of the second alignment, and vice versa. Okay? But as you can see here in the curve, we have a preview, so we know that the rail connection is possible. We just click. We can also, you can see, so if I go backward or forward again, we hit the spiral section, so that geometry is not possible to create here. But forward direction is supported. We just click OK, and the entire part of rail connection with two turnouts and the part of the alignment which connects with the appropriate radio values is automatically created. Okay, so we have everything what we need. So let's move now to this upper part, which is also interesting, because now we will be placing those two turnouts between non-parallel rail track, forming a new rail connection. And again here, so let's say always we need to put this, so the rail connection alignment name. If you don't put it, it's always something by default, like axis 1, axis 2. Okay, click here and let's see here. So we are just scrolling along this curve, and a non-parallel curve is not a problem to be placed. So we are just, let's say, define the starting point of the first turnout, set the direction. All the calculation is made automatically, and the rail connection is then created in RAW. Very similar. Let's go here. We'll try to put the rail connection between non-parallel alignments in the tangent section, and that's also quite a not so challenging problem anymore. If we want to edit it, we just hit that button, maybe move it slightly forward, and then as you can see here now we have enough space, so we can also set the direction backwards from the first alignment. So because we selected the alignment 1 to be our main alignment where we would like to place it, so we now just change the direction and everything goes recalculated, and we can create, let's say, that kind of rail connection as well. So we have also other possibilities like delete turnouts. We have the turnout catalog, as I mentioned before in the presentation. So here user can, so there's a pre-listed turnout types already in Ferrovia, already available, but users can add their own geometries as they wish with the simple button. There's a number of turnout types supported, like straight line, switch, or turnout, arc, turnout, symmetrical turnouts, and symmetrical turnouts in curve, as well as crossings. So basically all of that are already in. And there's also a turnout report table. So basically we would like to see just a table of all the turnouts which we have. There's turnout by index, though that index can also be altered, just edited, and you can type in the name of that turnout. You have all the stationing, turnout type, lengths of all the geometry, the beginning point, rail types, and all the other parameters that you need. That table can be just exported to a CSV file and opened in Excel just to make reports. Okay, so let's switch back to our presentation, because I'd like to show you one thing more. So as Ferrovia also supports the 3D solid functionality, so where basically a 3D model can be created straight away when you have the cross section with the quantity materials, the planimetry volumes defined. With the example of a tunnel as well, I have prepared a video. So let's say we've just placed a rail connection in that straight part. We have the red part is a tunnel area, and in order to do that, we needed all the cross sections here. We needed to have the profile for the first alignment, for the second alignment, and then this small profile is the rail connection profile. So basically, the elevation of this profile was created using the superimposed profile function. So basically, we were superimposing the height of the main and the second alignment just to see if there's any difference. Made all the design changes if needed accordingly, so that you can see now that all the rails are connected exactly at those elevations that they need to be. And here in this example, you can also see that a tunnel can be created very easily. That 3D solid rail track is created basically on a button, and now you can export all this functionality to additional other software like Navisworks, InfraWorks, whatever. Okay. Before we end this presentation, so just a mention, so that Ferrovia comes in different localized versions. So one thing is localized language for different countries, but second is also the standard supported. So basically, speaking about standards, it's about geometry, which we support, like spirals, the parameters, let's say, for calculating of applied cant, design workflows, which might differ, all the labels that differ, and how the reports are created. So all of that is and can be altered to let's say, to be exact as it's needed for special local market. Okay. Just a few references here. We'll just move further on. There are plenty of nice projects going on daily basis with the Ferrovia. At the end, I would just like to touch the sales options which we offer. So basically the commercial options for customers that you have. So CGS software, which part is Ferrovia, can be purchased as a permanent license. That's the most standard way. It can be purchased as a rental, as a license rental. And we have a third option, which is basically a combination of the first two. So basically it's something between a rental and a permanent license purchase, and we'll see more details later. Okay, so the permanent license purchase comes with or without CGS software subscription, and if you buy this one, you always get some volume discounts, extra discounts maybe. But what is important is when you pair it with CGS software subscription, you get basically all new CGS software versions, all the updates in that current period when you have active CGS software subscription. You get additional home use license available. You get the possibility to use older CGS Plus software versions, like let's say older Ferrovia version, to work on maybe older AutoCAD that you have. Then again, you have the possibility to use different localized software versions of Ferrovia. So maybe you have some branch of your company in another country, and they would need to work with the Ferrovia, which supports the standards of that country, and that's also supported. let's say in this example, just a basic. So you have maybe an English installation, a general installation of Ferrovia, but you can use also the German version or Polish version or some of others that are supported. Okay. Then the second possibility is license rental, and an important note is here that the CGS software subscription, with all the advantages that we've just seen, is already included in this license rental. So that comes very convenient. And then the third is CGS Plus financing, and this program is specially made basically for all the companies that want or need easier transition to basically any kind of software, in this case to the CGS Plus solutions, like, let's say for example Ferrovia that we are showing today. And this one is shaped for larger companies, mid-sized companies, but even for the startups. And what it brings, basically, when decided for CGS Plus financing, you buy a license and you pay it in monthly rates, let's say in 12 monthly rates. Those options, 24 and 36 months, are then more shaped for the smaller companies, maybe. But what's important here is basically when you buy one license, you get additionally 4 additional licenses, temporary license, for this period that you are paying the monthly rates. Okay? And then you just basically, let's say, reassign new CGS Plus financing for the next license, and this whole process just automatically goes on. And basically, step by step, you can get as much licenses as you need. But the important message is that from the first day that you decide for this software, you can already use 5 licenses. In example, when you buy 2, you get up to 10 temporary licenses. So you can start, let's say, really from the beginning to work with all the colleagues, on engineers on the Ferrovia software, using all the benefits it provides. Okay? In the CGS Plus financing, CGS software subscription is included, CGS Plus support is included, and we also, we enable customers to make early repayment or even contract termination if happens something. So that's always an open possibility. So just an overview: you buy one license in this example, which you pay in 12 monthly rates, but from the first day of this license use, you get additional 4 temporary licenses for the period of 12 months. So you're basically using 5 licenses for the price of 1. And after this, let's say 1 year period, just reassign for this financing and repeat this process. So basically, step by step, but using a large number of licenses for the day 1. Okay. And this is it. Basically, this is the overview of all the purchase options that customers have. You can basically choose from the one that suits you best. And if interested, yes, please go to our webpage, to cgsplus.com, go to our Ferrovia software, and there's a buy or request trial form. Just click, input your data, the name and address and company, and we will get that information, and afterwards we will contact you to provide you the quote for the specific number of licenses or the, let's say, the purchase options that you are interested in. So that's all from my side. Thank you for today, and looking forward to present you some other interesting features from CGS Plus software some other time. Thank you. Goodbye.